the Robot Party Game Jam 2022. I actually didn't realise it was happening that year until it was way too late, so let's just skip straight past that one. 2023. I joined halfway through. I made a puzzle game about a girl who can talk to ghosts, lost out in first place by a single vote and took home 0 awards. 2024. After an emergency trip abroad, I joined at the last second and crapped out a short game about a potato driving a car and ignored half the rules. 9th place, no awards. And that brings us to 2025. This year, I joined on time for once. I preemptively discussed having a teammate, and I was ready to go all out and try and bring home the win. But the competition had never been fiercer. The regular entrants had been noticeably getting better and better with each year that passes, and some of the submissions this time around were nothing short of phenomenal. So here is how I took them on. This year, the objective was to revive a hit 90s franchise known as the Scrimplets. For the first couple of days, nothing was accomplished, and the teammate I had preemptively discussed working with got a better offer, so went to work with a team that was no doubt much cooler. But I wasn't left alone again this year. I had someone join to take care of the art whilst I handled the rest. I crapped out this little doodle and then pretended like it was a real game design document. The game was called Zugtug Cleans Up, and it was about a little goblin looking fella who is just the absolute worst person you can imagine in a room that doesn't contain a politician. I sent the artist a detailed plan of what they needed to create, and then I whipped up a quick prototype of the mechanics, using some placeholder art from another game of mine, Hoppin' and Bobbin', which will eventually release. It's just on its third year of delays waiting for the soundtrack to be finished. I then rushed out a first draft of the script and sent it off to a bunch of other jammers wanting to voice act. And they absolutely nailed the delivery across the board, and it really helped all of the comedy land. Except for one guy who never recorded his lines. Luckily his character just had a small role, so I could pretend I wasn't raised with the worst accent known to mankind, and delivered a subpar monotone performance myself while the real actors propped me up. We were 3/4 of the way towards the deadline. The mechanics and voice acting were pretty much all done, that just left the art, and that was causing a bottleneck since we didn't have a single character model still, so I stepped in to take over the character art and move the artist onto the static meshes. Taking their progress so far, I finished the main character up, I've created all of their animations and a system to help handle their speech. I then used an age-old top secret game dev technique that only super dedicated veterans know about, called copy and pasting, to make the alternate costume and additional Scrimplet characters. However, I still had 9 human characters to model, UV, texture, rig and animate, so instead of doing a proper job, I doodled out some extremely simple but distinct characters and then molded them as quickly as possible in 3D. As a result, some of them do look a bit like old chewing gum that you'd find stuck under a desk, but they were done before the deadline, and that's the important thing. And that brings us to the finished game. As always, Kyle Bossman played it on stream, and everyone seemed to get a good laugh from it.
He's such a dork.
Hey, I heard that.
You know what? Good.
What the fuck? He's still going. He's still going. He's still going. That's so funny, dude.
Which I'm choosing to believe was laughing with and not laughing at. And that brings us to this year's awards. Time to see if actually showing up on time and putting in the effort was going to pay off, and let me compete with the excellent entries on the show. The individual awards came in, and against all odds,
The winner is... Zugtug Cleans Up by Balbod.
I somehow won Best Narrative, which is shocking considering there were some really narrative-heavy games in there. Like seriously, they had a stellar text adventure, a very self-aware JRPG, and an interactive documentary. But that's not all.
And the winner for Best Unaddressed Elephant in the Room is... Zugtug Cleans Up by Balbod. Of course, the scene in which a father is scolding his child. Could not believe my own kid would be into something like that.
Okay, this one was less shocking. It's kind of a vague randomly selected joke category, but hey, a win's a win, am I right? I ain't gonna say no. And that brings us on to the real deal. The actual winning game, based on average scores from a total of 854 player-submitted ratings. How would Zugtug do when up against games with insane levels of beautiful art, incredible mechanics, or that one game that had so much effort pumped into it that the team created sock puppets for every single character and created an FMV adventure?
And the winner of the Robot Party Jam 2025 is... Zugtug Cleans Up by Balbod. This game rips. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, this game pops. This game pops for sure.
Well, I'm happy to say, Zugtug cleaned up. Finally, after 4 years of following the Game Jam, I showed up on time, gave it my best shot, and I claimed first place as well as 2 of the 5 additional awards. If you want to play it for yourself or try any of the other games in the Jam, the links are below. They're really awesome, fantastic original games, unlike anything else you've ever played, so they are for sure worth checking out. So go give them a shot, and we'll see if I can defend my title next year.
Fucking hilarious.